I've got one big idea that's going to make your woodworking better right away. Practice. Woodworkers often say to me, Rex, I'm about to start this new project, and it's got a tricky joint that I've never cut before. Hope it goes okay. And I've done that too, and it's kind of dumb. If you've got a part of your project that you've never done, and you don't know if you can do it, you should not just roll the dice and hope everything goes okay. What you should do instead is get a piece of scrap wood and cut that new joint. Then cut it again. And then cut it again. Keep doing that new skill until it's not new anymore. Keep doing it until you know you can do it right. And this doesn't just apply to joinery. It also applies to new tools and new woods. So if you're getting a new species of timber that you've never worked before, especially if it's figured or exotic, buy extra. Buy 20% extra. And then take a couple boards of it and just play around. Saw it, plane it, machine it, find out the places where it chips or tears out or splits or just explodes unexpectedly. You want all those surprises to happen when you're just playing around. You don't want any surprises when you're finishing up that cabriolet leg that you spent a day carving. Practicing will help keep those surprises from killing your work. This applies to finishing too. Don't ever put a new finish on a completed project. Test it on scrap. I've done this. I sprayed rattle can acrylic on a guitar I built years ago, and I had never done it before and never tested it, and I made a complete mess of it. I had to sand the whole project back and start again because I didn't practice on scrap. And that was like 10 years ago. And since then, social media has made woodworking much harder, honestly, because everybody uses photography and filters and even Photoshop sometimes to make their work look better. It's really easy to do. And so you go on Instagram and you look at people's work and it's all amazing and you want to measure up. You want to be as good as those people you see on the internet, even though that portrait of woodworking is completely unrealistic. And that creates an environment of pressure and tension and high expectations, and that is not the way to do good woodworking. We need to bring that pressure down. And the way to do that is practicing. Here's another idea for improving your woodwork. Finish every project. Everything. Do whatever you have to do to get it over the finish line. Because, and this is the key point, you don't know whether it's good or bad until it's done. So, for instance, I wanted to make this Moravian stool, but it's got a couple things in it that I've never done before. It's got sliding dovetails that connect these battens to the seat. The legs are drilled at a compound angle through the batten and then up through the seat. And it's got a handle in it right there. These are all things I had never done before. So what did I do? I practiced. And an interesting thing happened. The part that I was most intimidated by was these sliding dovetails. I never cut anything like this before. And so I thought, okay, let me just get a scrap board. I had this piece of maple and I got a piece of walnut. It was just sitting around and I cut one of them. And it was pretty tricky and it came out okay. Not great, but okay. Importantly, it went in. It actually functioned. So I was like, okay, not bad. And then I looked at the piece of wood and I thought, well, I've done one, and this is, roughly stool size anyway. Oh, and then this other really funny thing happened. My daughter is 10 years old, and she loves art. She has an easel in her room, and she's always drawing and sketching on it. It's very adorable. And I walked in her room the other day, and she was drawing at her easel, and she was sitting in a chair that we bought for her when she was 4. She's 10, so her knees were like up at her chin. I'm not kidding. And she's sitting there sketching away, and I'm thinking, this is absurd. I build furniture for a living. My daughter should have a chair that's the right size. I am going to build her a better seat for her sketching. And I thought, you know what? I've already put the 2 battens in that piece of maple. Why don't I just make some legs? Let's see, how can I make some legs? I could just turn some. Turning is very fast, of course. I hadn't turned anything. I hadn't turned any spindles in like a year and a half. So as I was working on the first one, I just snapped it. I leaned into it too hard, massive rookie mistake, and snapped it. And this was one of the finished pieces of wood. I should have been practicing instead. So I got a piece of spruce 2x4 and practiced, cut the whole thing, made sure it was going to be what I wanted. Came out really great. Glued up some more maple, finished doing the legs, only took me a couple of hours. And then I drilled the holes and put them together, legged the thing up. Now it's done. I didn't even intend to make the finished piece. I thought this was firewood. It's got this knot here, which I hated. Of course, now it's kind of grown on me, and I think it's kind of cool detail. Without even meaning to, I built the whole piece, and because it's done, now we can talk about whether it's any good or not. Big picture: size, shape, proportion, angles, and function. Not bad, actually. It's a good size for my daughter. I really like the angle of the legs and the little detail I have here. The function is, honestly, it's great. It supports my weight, so it'll be fine for her. I'm a big guy. The handhold is very comfortable. You can move it around easily. It does what it's supposed to do. And from just a couple feet away, it looks great. Of course, we also need to talk about the details. So let's zoom in. How about these sliding dovetails? Well, they're okay. This is definitely the worst one, but it's got a lot of flaws. You can see I sawed past my baseline here and here. And on this side especially, I trimmed it too far, so there's an obvious gap. I also planed this edge of the seat to get rid of my layout marks, but that revealed chipping inside the joint that I wouldn't have had if I had just left this edge alone. So you can see all the stuff that I learned here about watching my layout lines, not removing too much waste, not planing this edge. This is really valuable stuff. And this is also the first one I cut. Let's look at the last one. Okay. You can see this one's pretty good. My baselines are good. The gaps are very minimal. This front edge looks great. I mean, listen, not to beat a dead horse, but practice. Now let's look at these leg mortises. This is the worst one, and you can tell I got some really bad tear out when I drilled this one, and I tried to fix it by filling it in with glue and sawdust, and that just made things way worse. I should have known better. What happened here? So I used this spade bit, which I've owned for years and never sharpened, so it's pretty dull, and it clearly tore the grain when it came through here. I had a backer board clamped to it, which should have absorbed any tear out, but it didn't. So I'm going to sharpen this bit and practice with it some more, and if that doesn't work, I'm going to switch to a Forstner bit or something else. I'm going to keep experimenting until this is better, but this is one of those flaws you really have to get right on top of to see. Now that it's finished, I'm really glad that I made this piece. I mean, overall, it's pretty good. On a scale of 1 to 10, I would give this 6.5. And I think in my house, as a day-to-day piece of furniture, it's going to be great. I'm going to give it to my daughter. It's a total surprise. She has no idea. And you know, what's my daughter going to say when I give this to her? Oh, Papa, you sawed past your baselines. I don't want this piece of garbage. No, she's not going to say that at all. She's going to be super excited, and she's going to put it in front of her easel and get back to doing her artwork. And that makes me feel great. I love it when people actually use my furniture. And you know, the tear out and the gaps and the oversawn lines, how do I feel about that stuff? Is that going to haunt me every time I look at the piece? No, it's not. I mean, for one thing, this piece was practice. It was never going to be perfect. That's impossible. For another thing, those little things actually just don't bug me that much. I'm going to work to improve them. They're obviously the flaws, but it's a piece of furniture. It works. It looks nice. Most non-furniture makers could never tell that there are problems with this. And I feel pretty good about that. So I'm really glad I make it. You're wondering, when's the video coming out? And there is no video about this one. I didn't film it because if the cameras are running, it's not practice. I really just did it for myself. And then I'm going to make another one, and I'm going to film that one. And I'm going to do a way better job and be much more confident in teaching it to you because I've already done the whole thing. I think I'll do a whole video just about making the sliding dovetail because that's kind of complicated. And then we'll do a video about the entire project. And it's going to be a lot of fun because I actually know what I'm doing. These videos are brought to you by my company, Compass Rose Toolworks, featuring the Hand Tool Hero, the original 5-function pocket everyday carry multi-tool that will adjust all of your planes and saws and even has a little angle gauge for sharpening. Go to compassrosetools.com and get yourself one. We also have really nice stainless steel chip breaker screws. You can upgrade your plane and they will reach through those modern thick irons and still grab the chip breaker. They're really nice. We have new Compass Rose tools coming out this spring, a couple of them. They're really cool. I wish I could tell you about them now, but I can't quite yet. Patreon.com/Rex Krueger. My patrons are the only reasons I get to make these videos. Tool sales are not funding these videos. My patrons are. If you'd like to be one of them, you can check out all of the rewards we have for the people who make these videos possible. It's a new year. This is my first video of the year, and we're easing into it. I'm settled in my new shop. We've got new tools coming out for Compass Rose, new projects and furniture. It's going to be a great year. There's so much to be excited about. Thanks for coming and joining me. Keep coming back. We'll see you soon.